I wanted to share. I think it's a message of hope that I want to talk about today. This came to mind. I had as you maybe know, some of the Abbey members have been doing little talks on this Vibe with the Venerables series that has been going online. The Singaporean philanthropist really has established this weekly online series of talks. And in order to get to know the people who are speaking on this, he has set up little meet and greet interviews with the people he hasn't met before. So in my meeting with him, um, with, uh, with Ming, he had 4 questions to get to know me. They're 4 get to know you questions. What is your life story? What do you want to be when you grow up? What are you doing to save the world? And how can I help you with that? Those are interesting questions for a first meeting. Um, but I realized as I was responding, I kind of chuckled, of course, at all of them. But when what are you doing to save the world? I was sort of amazed to say, Ming, I don't believe you can save samsara. I am no longer on a mission to save the world. And I am certainly of the generation that believed we could and should save the world. We can save the world, rearrange the world, we can change the world. It's dying to get better. You remember that song from 1971, Graham Nash. Um, but not trying to save the world doesn't mean that I've given up hope. What I realize is that although I cannot save cyclic existence, born of a continual cycle of out of our afflictions and the karma we create from that, but individuals can be liberated from all of that. And that's the mission for myself and for everybody else. So I was thinking about that in preparing this BBC and sort of what's going on in the world, wanting to respond a little bit because I've been going through something that Venerable Jigme was talking about yesterday too, how to cope with these times if you're carrying the baggage from thinking we can save the world. Um, and so then Venerable Pema last night, I think, sent an email to a few people, links to a few people, that I thought, this is perfect. This is perfect to share. Because what she sent was a little video about a congressional motion. The United States of America Congress has put forth a designation on both the House floor and the Senate floor to designate July 6, 2025 as a day of compassion. This is a summary. The motion is in commemoration of the 90th birthday of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. The resolution aims to, 1, recognize the Dalai Lama's significant contributions to promoting peace, nonviolence, and religious harmony. And then it expresses the support for the human rights, religious freedom, and cultural and linguistic protection of the Tibetan people. And then it goes on for many points about wanting to preserve Tibetan culture and the Tibetan autonomy and so forth. The motion aligns with the Central Tibetan Administration's initiative, that's the Tibetan government in exile. They have started an initiative to observe a year of compassion from July 6, 2025 to July 6, 2026. So our US Congress is only doing a day. But okay. So here's I just want to share some of what they said. So the bill is in the House. The bill is co-sponsored by Texas Congressman, Republican Texas Congressman Michael McCall, and Massachusetts Congressman James McGovern, Democrat. Michael McCall, the Texan, was the most, or at least in the video cut, was the most verbose about his praise. He said, he talks about how His Holiness 66 years ago led his people who were slaughtered through the Himalayas for safety. He still teaches inner peace and preaches compassion. I said, don't you harbor any ill will towards the Chinese people? He said, I cannot let negative emotions take over my soul. And then the congressman said, I think about that meeting almost every day. So he teamed up with James McGovern, the co-sponsor of the bill, who said, I've been inspired by the Dalai Lama for a long time. As a human being, I've been inspired by his personal commitment to practicing patience and charity. As a person raised in the Catholic faith, I've been inspired by his role as a spiritual leader. And as a congressman, I've been inspired by his role as a national leader, guiding his people through dark times through a brighter future. And then this US congressman, acknowledges His Holiness as inspiring millions for his teachings on religious tolerance, nonviolence, and peace. So think about this. This speech is on the floor of the United States House of Representatives in 2025, right now, when you could look at that and go, really? You guys actually believe this? I mean, we could be very cynical about it. But the inspiration you could see in these men's eyes as they were talking about how they've been touched by His Holiness was just beautiful. Really, really inspiring. And then Nancy Pelosi was the last speaker that they recorded. And here's what she said. She said, hope is the most positive value we can have, or virtue that we can respect. Hope, because anything is possible. And she said, sometimes people say to me, where is hope anymore? And I think of His Holiness. And I think of his faith that is so strong and his goodness that he sees in himself and in others. And I say, hope is always where it's always been, sitting right there between faith and the goodness of others. So she's referring to the New Testament series, Faith, Hope, and Charity, right? Or charity is also often translated as love. Faith, hope, and love, those three things. But she says, of course, that he has it too. Faith, hope, love. And it's really important for you to know, she said, in the House and in the Senate, that support for Tibet is overwhelmingly, she said it twice, bipartisan. It is important for us to know. And then she concludes, that's because of the goodness of His Holiness. It's also because of the mobilization that you all bring, she's talking to the Tibetans, and the leadership of our colleagues. She notes that too. And then she says, happy birthday to His Holiness. So this to me is so inspiring, right? The power of compassion from a person who is halfway around the world, who can bring a joint resolution to the floor of the United States Congress that, can only commit to a day of compassion, not to a year. But isn't that more than you would expect from our government right now? I mean, there's hope. There is truly hope. And so, I am not a Dalai Lama. That's conspicuously obvious. But I feel very privileged to be on his team. And part of being on his team is to recognize that there is always hope, not as something to cling to. That's where we get messed up. We cling to this hope, we cling to this vision of how things should be, and that's where we're trying to try to save cyclic existence. That's where we think we can change the world. We cannot. We cannot change another person. All I can change is this one. And this one is stubborn. This one is hard to change, but it's doable, because when he said, how can you want to change the world? I could say, I'm not trying that anymore. I have learned that I am in cyclic existence, It is in the nature of dukkha, it always will be. But there is freedom from that, and that's what I'm working for. So I think for all of us, and for people who have been writing to us saying, how do I deal with what's going on in the world? This is where we take refuge. We must take refuge in what the Buddha taught us about the nature of the world itself. We are run by our afflictions, our destructive emotions, the karma that we create. That turns the wheel of harm. We know it personally, and now we see it globally at a level that in my life, I don't think I've seen. People who are not a whole lot older than I am remember the world wars, but for us who have our post-war babies on, we haven't seen it on a global scale like this, I don't think. Yet, to remember that as students of His Holiness, there is always hope because of the potential for infinite love and compassion inseparable from wisdom in every single being. And that in faith, that power of love and compassion and that infuses that wisdom is stronger than any of the negative forces. It's just slow work and is done one person at a time. So, what do I want to be when I grow up? I mean, my answer then was, well, I'm doing it. But, it will take many, many lifetimes. But I'd like to be a Buddha when I grow up, when I really grow up. And I'm taking the Bodhisattva, the 14th Dalai Lama, as my role model. Confident that one of these days it will happen. And as practitioners of all faiths, everyone who has faith in love, everyone who has faith in hope and in nonviolence and in care for other living beings, we form a community that is strong enough to support one another, to continue to hold and radiate that, no matter what else is going in the world. And then it's a powerful force. It's a powerful force. You cannot blow that candle out. And when we die, we pass it on to the next one. Here, light this flame. Go, 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 go. So, little Sophia, that's a message for you, girl. You carry that forward. And I think you're already bright enough to do that. I can see it. Yeah. So, rejoicing in His Holiness's presence in the world and our relationship and connection with Him. 90 years. Nancy spent a lot of time thanking God for 90 years of His birth, of His life. Let's just do that.